remember pulling me back and just felt loads of whacks and punches and like when you watch two kids in the playground fight, they're just windmilling and just like they just haven't got no control. That's what I was like, bro. I was just throwing my arms left, right, and center. Didn't know what was going on. I just run then, and I went and hid in an alleyway, and I hid in this alleyway for about 2 hours, and it was pissing down with rain, and I walked then back home, and as I looked down, it was just blood everywhere.
Welcome to the show, Nathan.
Nice one, brother. Cheers for the invite, man.
So, now what's your sober date?
Sober date is December the 24th, 2020.
Okay, yeah, you're the one I saw that was Christmas Eve recently when I was, because I see a lot of sober dates. You know what I mean? People, either reaching out to somebody or whatever. So, but yeah, I knew I saw a Christmas Eve in there. So, what was going on for you Christmas Eve? Last year.
Well, mate, I just come out of detox on Christmas Eve last year. I was quite blessed to get the detox. To be honest, I went into hospital on the 12th of December. I had a severe back problem, and I was like 20% away from being disabled. I was writ off, man. I had a big car crash just before there. And I went into hospital because I couldn't feel my legs. So they put me down for an emergency back operation, but they couldn't take me straight away because I was so intoxicated. They had to sober me up for 24 hours. So they done the operation on the 13th, and they were going to discharge me the next day. But I was fitting. I was withdrawing and shaking and fitting, and the doctor come round and the doctor asked me, she said, are you all right? And I was just like, yeah, I'm all right. And then she pulled the curtains around the hospital bed, and she looked at me, she said, you're not all right, are you? And I just broke down in tears, man. And I told her my intake with alcohol and drugs, and she said, look, she said, you ain't going anywhere. We're going to put you onto a detox. She gave me the option. She said, you can go if you want, but the detox is there for you. And you know what, right? It was a blessing. I count that as a blessing in disguise, because there was a backlog of detoxes in the area I was from. There was like a 14-month waiting list to get onto a detox. And I got offered one. So, going into hospital for the back operation was a kind of, a blessing in disguise,
Yeah, so you got into an accident, last December, and then when you had to go into the hospital for the accident, because your back was all messed up, is when you were like, well, I might as well stay in detox from alcohol.
Well, that's what it was. So yeah, so they offered me the detox, which I went in on the 14th. I'd done a 10-day detox, and they gave me the option to stay in for Christmas. But whilst I was in detox, I got speaking to my baby mother again, and she said, look, you can come and spend Christmas here if you want, which was nice. It was really nice. I come out of detox on Christmas Eve, and it was painful, man, because I didn't really connect with anybody whilst I was in the only people that I connected with is the 12-step fellowship. A couple of people reached out to me, and I had a laptop in hospital as well, and so I started doing online Zoom meetings and
those are good. Yeah, that because they weren't always around for that to be able to do that. So it was good that you were able just to hop on a Zoom meeting. Because like it's one thing to be detoxing, a couple hours into tremor, you know what I mean, to detoxing alcohol and sitting in a meeting, getting your ass up and getting to a meeting and sitting there. That's one thing. But you can lay in bed and be miserable and attend a meeting on Zoom. You don't even have to turn the camera on. You can just attend meetings all day long and just be, if I relapsed and had to do it all over again, that's how I would do it all day, just meetings, and just on Zoom.
Yeah, man. Man, honestly, like I've known so many people who got recovered or who are recovering because of Zoom meetings, and it was funny as well because on my year sobriety on Christmas Eve we done a meeting, and a friend of mine handed me, because I'm secretary of the meeting, and we had a guy sharing, and we done the clean time countdown, and I got to a year, and he presented me my year tag, and he said, "Bro, this is mad." He said, "I've seen you in that hospital bed with wires hanging out of you, like 9 stone, could barely speak," and he's like giving me my year tag like 365 days later.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, you were detoxing alcohol. Were you detoxing like drugs too?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was, yeah,
Like,
I was, yeah.
were you kicking from, was it unpleasant alcohol withdrawals or unpleasant from drug withdrawals or both?
It was both, bro. It was both, man. Because I was a crackhead as well. I was like a real like cocaine abuser. Turned to crack. And the alcohol, and you know what it's like, bro. I'm not sure what you. I know you talk about alcohol quite a lot because I've heard you a few times.
Yeah.
But you know what it's like, mate, when you're off your tits, like 3 days into a bend and you can't sleep, man. So you're just swallowing tablets.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. When did you start drinking at an early age, or was it like later on in life did you discover alcohol?
I've always been a drinker, man. Always, because
you're in London. So are you in London, or you're in the UK, or where are you at?
I'm in England. I'm originally from Wales.
Because I don't know if you know this, but you have an accent, So people that have been listening for a few minutes are like, this guy's got an accent, He's not from America. Okay, so you're from Wales. Okay. Now where's that at? That's in the UK.
It's in the UK. Yeah, it's in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah, a place called Cardiff, which is the capital city of Wales.
Okay.
But yeah, mate, I started drinking at a young age. Like, it was funny because I shared about this all the time. I had an operation on my 10th birthday. I had to get I used to be cross-eyed. I'm blind in my right eye, and I used to be cross-eyed. So I had this operation to try and balance my eyes out and stuff. And I remember after coming around from the operation, I said to my mother,
I should have kicked you in the head with the mule.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I said to my mother, I said, whatever they put that into my arm, the injection, the sleeping, whatever it's called, whatever they done there the feeling was lovely.
Yeah,
and that's that's it, yeah. And then I can remember when I was about 12 years old. Then I nicked a can of beer at the house party, my mother's house party, and I drank this beer, and it reminded me of that operation on my 10th birthday, and I was like, wow, I found that feeling.
I see. Okay, so you're like, I found something that mirrors that warmth. Because that's what it was. Yeah. It was, whenever you're going under for an operation, it's that warmth,
Yeah.
and then it's that first drink that you get. It's that warmth that you give your body where, like, this is something different, but it's relatable in that sense. So I can totally see you going, oh, that's it. This is what I can do now. That's how I can catch that feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
And was it as acceptable? Like, I've had somebody from, London area, Abby, on the show, and she was telling me she was telling me how acceptable it was, to just be able to drink in the bars or drink whenever when you're like 12, 13, 14 years old. Is that the same in your area as well?
Well, mate, I listened to Abby's podcast with you, and what she said was true, bro. Like, it is. I'll call it boozy Britain. Like, people just love to drink. It's like celebrations all the time. They'll celebrate anything, and house parties and family parties. You give your little kid half a can of shandy or whatever it is, and yeah. So I've related to Abby's story so much, man, because I'm a DJ as well.
I was going to say, were you a groupie?
People were grouping onto me.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. So your Instagram says something about music, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you do with music?
I was a DJ, man. I started. I've always had a passion for music. I got kicked out of school at a young age, and no other school would take me on. So I ended up going on to this company called Intex Studios, which is a music production company. And so instead of going to school, I went to this studio, and I started learning how to DJ, and brother, I just had, when people got natural talents, I had a natural talent for DJing, and at a young age, man, I was getting gigs in nightclubs at the age of 15. Because I was so young, I wasn't getting paid wages. I was getting paid in like free beer. You know what I mean? So
yeah, they're like, we can just pay this kid anything. He's gonna just be happy to be here.
Absolutely, man. Give me 8 bottles of Budweiser and I'm laughing.
Yeah. You're not some guy in their 20s trying to pay for a house or pay for an apartment. You're just some kid, just like, you can pay me in beer. It's fine. So,
yeah.
yeah,
I earned my wages for drinking. Oh, trust me.
I could see. Okay, so yeah, you're a teenager, and now you're finding yourself in music, which you can easily get lost in. How old are you right now? How old are you?
39 now.
39. Okay, yeah. So this is early 2000s. Late 90s, early 2000s. You can easily get swept up into that scene, because it was like an up and coming scene too. Like it wasn't like EDM wasn't even a thing back then. So. I'm not sure what kind of DJ were you? Am I circling it? Is that what you were doing? That kind of music?
Yeah, I was doing garage. I'm not sure UK garage. It's like two-step beats.
Okay.
1 to 6 BPM, man. Yeah, and went from garage to grime music, which is like the UK's version of the American hip hop.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went and. It's a good urban music, man, and I've become pretty successful at it. And I started traveling. I started traveling around the UK. DJing abroad, doing all the party islands.
So when did you get kicked out of school then? How old were you?
Must have been about 13, 14.
What were you doing at 13 for them to be like, all right, man, we had enough of you?
I was trying to stab my teacher.
Oh, wait, you can't do that in England either.
No, I can't do that anyway. No, it was.
Okay. Can you tell me what happened?
Well, mate, it was. I was the loudmouth of the school and everything. I was the little, the lovable rogue in school and stuff. And my father was. He hurt his back. My father hurt his back, and he was in a wheelchair for a very long time. And I was walking past, and the teacher said, "Get to your class." And I said, "No, I'm not going to my class." And he said, "No, I'll tell your father." And he goes, "Oh, well, I can't do that, can I? Because you can't walk and come down here." And I just flipped, and I had a sculpting knife because I was just in a science class, and I nicked this sculpting knife, and I tried slashing him with it, yeah. And I didn't do it, but
yeah,
I didn't get to it. But
you presented the knife like you would, and then that's all they needed to do to be like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah,
you're done with school here.
Done with schooling. So they brought my mother to the school. It was funny as well because when they kicked me out of school, when they told me to leave the premises, I started freaking out and I was jumping on top of the teachers' cars and I got home, and by the time I got home, my mother had the phone call. And I'm like, "Mum, they're lying. I didn't do it. So my mother, being my mother, bless her, she dragged me all the way down to the school, sat me down in the teacher's head office. And the teacher at the time was like, "You did do it?" I'm like, "Mum, I promise you I never." And she went 2 seconds missing, said, "I'll be back now." She comes back in with a video cassette, chucked it on, and all you can see is me jumping all over the cars. I was like, "Oh."
Forgot that CCTV, man. There's cameras everywhere.
Everywhere, bro. Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So, but you didn't have to go to another school though. It was just like, all right, I'm gonna do my.
I got expelled, and we tried getting into another school, but no schools would take me on in Cardiff. So that's why and that's why I went to this music production company called Intex Studios. Because the guy that was running the organization, they used to work with a lot of schools, and he heard about what happens. There's a guy called John Lenny. He's a beautiful man. He's such a good human being. Like, he heard about what happened, and he was like, bring him to my studios. So I went to my studios. Yeah, so I went to my studios, and he was like, you're not gonna try that shit here. I'm like, I promise. I'm a big black guy. And I was like, I promise.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need a knife even. I don't even need a knife for this job.
Nah. So it was so he took me on in his studio. I was there every day, bro. Every day from like 9 o'clock in the morning to like 7 o'clock at night. I was there for about 3 years, I think it was it.
Now, yeah, so now I mean you're not even have to go to school, so you're a teenager and you're working in music, and it's that kind of atmosphere. Are you drinking all day too?
I didn't stop. Nah, it was only when I was DJing. It was only when I was DJing, but it was binge drinking. I used to go to a gig. Obviously, I don't think I ever DJed sober. It was quite a common joke with like, because my DJ name is Trooper, TROOPA, and a lot of the bouncers and the promoters used to laugh. They used to say, "I don't know how Trooper can do this." He walks into the club sideways, does an hour, then walks all backwards. So yeah, I always used to like have the pre-drinks and used to find the after parties. I just, it's funny because like, back then we don't know about this disease of addiction, do we? We ain't got a clue. But learning about this last year, it's just like, all the little traits were there.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that like my drinking was a problem. You know what I mean? Like I knew that I had a problem with pills. Like that was a little more obvious to me. But I think that because drinking is so socially acceptable, so socially promoted, you know what I mean? Either whether it's advertising, Super Bowl, you know what I mean? Like it's everywhere is about drinking is okay. So it's a little harder to see how destructive your drinking is until you can get further away without the drink, right? Like it takes some separation from drinking. Like I think it's you can't it's one of those things that unless like you've lost everything directly to alcohol but maybe like for me I've lost a lot from pills, but not really from alcohol. But it
Yeah.
took me getting away from alcohol with pills to be like, oh, okay, I see it. That's where I had a problem. That's where I drank alcoholically. That's when this was bad. This is, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
see that. Like, it's even so fucked up that like, even when I relapsed with drinking, I still worked the steps while drinking.
Oh,
Like like I didn't drink alcoholically in that 9 months after I had a relapse because I was still doing daily 10 steps, man.
yeah.
I was still checking myself to make sure that like, oh, how many drinks did you have today? Like, and checking myself to make sure I didn't like over drink because I was that already like indoctrinated with, 12 steps and the program and, how to drink not alcoholically, not a sense that I learned not how to because I still ended up drinking alcoholically. Spoiler alert. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually I drank too much and I was like, I gotta be done with this.
Did you have a sponsor as well when you was going through the steps?
No, not that time. Not that time. Not when I was drinking. No sponsor would
I was
sign
gonna
off
say,
on it.
yeah.
No. I meant like I was still working the steps, right? As in like, okay, so some of the steps, if I called a resentment, right? Even when I was drinking, if I called a resentment, I would still find my part in it. I maybe not write it down a full resentment, but I would consciously sit there and think and find my part in it. And then I would call anybody that I trusted. It wasn't a sponsor, but just somebody that I trusted to talk to have a conversation, right? Like, hey, what's going on? How are you? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, this is on my mind. Blah, 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 blah. And basically do a fit step with that person.
Wow, man. Yeah.
And then still working through my amends for my original list, the ones that I was willing to make. I was still doing daily 10 steps.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
I was still doing prayer and meditation. I was still carrying the message as in if like somebody I saw was in addiction, they're like, hey, where should I get sober? I'm helping them getting sober.
Yeah.
So, I was still carrying them. So yeah, I was doing the steps. That's what I'm saying. So I didn't have to work with a sponsor to do those even when I had a relapse. I think people have problems when they relapse because we get so caught up on the days, right? we get so caught up on counting the days, and then we have a relapse. We have a relapse, and we're like, oh shit, I got to get back to 1 day again. Oh shit, well I'm at 0, so I might as well go really hard before I get back that 1 day.
Yeah, you
As
hear that all the
opposed to
time.
just being like, oh shit, I relapsed. Okay, let me see how I can live my life now with a relapse in there. Let me see if I can just do this normally. Let me see if I can just buy a 6-pack and split it with a friend. That kind of you know what I mean? Like, and then don't take it to the extreme. But we're all addicts, bro, and we don't know how to not take it to the extreme, and that's the problem. And that's why
people with the idea,
die all the time on relapses. It's, you know.
Do you know what's your take? And do you know, like I hear it all the time. You know, relapse is a part of your recovery. What do you make of that?
I think that's where you learn. I think that's like, you know, I tell my kid all the time, you have to lose, right? You know, he'll play video games and he'll freak the fuck out when he's losing. And I'm like, bro, you have to lose, man. Like, you have to learn. In order to succeed, you have to learn all the ways to not, you know what I mean, to fail. You have to fail over and over again. Like, even they say, like, Bill Gates, you know, failed multiple times making the first Windows and the first computers and all that shit. It wasn't done the first time. You have to fail. And once you fail, you're like, okay, well, I know I can't do that. Because we all will question ourselves at one point. Because we are alcoholics, we are addicts, and we overthink things, we overanalyze things. So all of a sudden we get ourselves in a situation where we're not talking out loud, we're stuck in our heads, and when we're stuck in our heads, it's the most dangerous place to be. As soon as I say some shit to a sponsor and my wife or anybody, it's no longer in my head and it has no control over me. But the relapses happen because we're not saying it out loud. We're not talking to somebody about it, and then it has all that power up here.
Because you know, I tried doing the 12 steps years ago in 2011, but I never done them like was supposed to. I done it half-heartedly. You know, my body surrendered, but like my ego never. I was still always flirting with the idea. But like now, for me, I think the relapse is not. It might be some, you know, part of some people's you know, journey or whatever, or part of their recovery. But I just believe it's a lack of recovery. You know what I mean? When, you know, I said it the other day. I said, you know, I don't believe that, you know, relapses is part of people's recovery. I just think it's a lack of recovery. And you just kind of said it yourself just then.
And it is a lack, because when I did relapse, it was because I stopped doing the work. I wasn't going to meetings. I wasn't talking to my sponsor. You know, and that's why the relapse happened. It's all the classic things that you hear, like, hey, why'd you relapse after 6 years? Oh, well, I stopped going to meetings. I stopped talking to my sponsor. I stopped having a connection to my higher power. Next thing you know, I'm drinking. Next thing you know, I'm getting high. Boom. It's a class, you know, tale as old as time, as they always say.
And we can't see it coming, can we?
Yeah, no, it hits you like a shit ton of bricks out of nowhere, and then you're blindsided, and it's too late. You're already done it, you know. You're already way over your head. So, and it's
that step one as well, isn't it? Where like we've relapsed now. We're back to zero. Our Bugger and Mars will go all out now.
Yeah, they could, but then where you could be like me, and you could say, you know, fuck it, let's see where this takes me. You know, I don't have to be another statistic of that person who relapsed and died on a relapse. You know, the drugs aren't what they used to be 3-4 years ago. And I start, you know, my sober date is coming up on 2 years, but I haven't touched a pill in almost 4, man. And I'm scared the fucking death of the pills out there today, because it was right around that time that 30s, my favorite pill, all of a sudden were being shoved with fentanyl and pressed with fentanyl. Yeah. So I don't know what I'd be buying these days, man. You know, and unfortunately, there's a bunch of fucking trolls out there that they'll follow my page. They'll see that, oh, he's in recovery, so I'm going to follow him from my page. And what do? They follow me from their page. I see, okay, who's this person? Follow me. And all their pictures that are selling pills.
No.
Swear to God. All the time. It just happened yesterday.
No, that's dark, isn't it?
It's you know, it makes me sick to my stomach to even think, like, are they really trying to bait me? Like, bro, like
Yeah.
I wouldn't even buy your pills when I was an addiction online.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Like even when I was an addiction online, I wasn't buying pills online. Fuck out of here. So you can add me all you want. Just helps my numbers, maybe. I don't know. Maybe hit like on some of my content. Help me out a little bit. I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're gonna sit there and troll me, but yeah, I'm not gonna fall for it because I wouldn't even buy your pills even when I was an addiction.
Yeah.
I would rather drive 2-3 hours to somebody I trusted over doing shit online and giving you some fuck out of here.
That's some deep shit, really, man. That's bad. These trolls are doing that. I come across that. I was on Twitter a couple of months ago, and it happened to a guy on Twitter. He was a raging cokehead, and people started tagging him, and he's like got the best 10 out of 10 cocaine, and with like videos of the cocaine and stuff, and he was retweeting it, like saying, "What the hell's going on there?" And I was just like, "Wow, man, that's deep."
Yeah,
but these people can't see.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. These people just ain't got a clue about the addiction of it.
Yeah, and so the other thing is too, and you mentioned, I'm going to go back to the 12 steps, bounce back to that, is the other reason it works is because it works if you work it. It's because you want it to work. You believe in what you're doing, right? And that's a huge factor in anything that you're doing. When you did the steps in 2011, 2012, like you said, you knew that you needed to do them, right? You're like, I know this is a formula for living a better life. I see the proofs in the pudding. Look at all these people, they're happy, blah, blah, blah. I should do this. I need to do this. Yeah. I believe in higher power. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Got it. You want a list of resentment? Yep. Here's 2 pages. There you go. And you do it. And you do the work that you're supposed to. You get a C. You do enough to pass. To get a passing grade. But it's but it's not like to actually get it, to work it. Because when you do it, when you want it, when you actually want this to work, it works whether you're drinking or not. And I think that I was even proof of that for a while, because when I went to rehab, it was to quit pills, not to quit drinking. And then I got into AA when I was out there. And then I loved AA. And then I went to another AA and I didn't like it. So it was like, all right, I'm going to stop going. Maybe I'm not an alcoholic. And I started lying to myself and all that shit. But so I needed the relapse to almost reassure myself, yeah, man, you're an alcoholic. Because I knew I was a drug addict, right? I knew shit like a month into being a drug addict. 10 years later, I'm in rehab. So, so for me to be like, okay, no, I'm definitely an alcoholic. I needed that. So that's why I say I needed the relapse, and everybody is different.
Yeah. No, I respect that, man. I really do. And it is a blessing that you did have that relapse. Because that's what you just said to me there. I'll take that on board myself. Because this time around now, when I've done the steps this time around now, I've done a vicious step 1. I went, my sponsor, bless him, he dug deep with me with it, and we've done these little exercises of in the pursuit of getting alcohol and in the pursuit of getting cocaine, and under the influence of alcohol, under the influence of cocaine, and
the unmanageability. You focused on the unmanageability,
bro.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite part of this. Everyone, I always get so not butthurt, but I always get every time I hear someone always say that, the first step's admitting it. It's because to me, the most important thing about step 1 is it makes your life unmanageable. There's plenty of people that can outdrink me, that can drink way more than I can and have. However, it doesn't make their life unmanageable, and it made mine unmanageable. So that's why it's so important to me, is that word. And then once you find out, you go through, did you have to do a whole list? That's what a good sponsor will do. It's like, did you do a whole list?
Yeah, my sponsor, I've still got the list now, and I check in on it time to time. And it's mad as well, because I'll be sat there chilling, reading a book or something, and another unmanageable time will pop up in my head, and I'm like, oh, So I write it back down on a sheet and call my sponsor, you know, and it's, yeah, because yeah, unmanageable, mate. It grips you, doesn't it?
Yep. Yeah, you could probably do. I know I probably could myself do a whole podcast episode on just all my unmanageability that it caused my life.
That'd be a good podcast, man.
You know, just unmanageability, and that's all it is, because it was just madness, man. You're right, and that's why it's so important to me that you do that. I always think of what's Russell Brand's "Am I Fucked?" Russell Brand.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Recovery book. His first step is "Am I fucked?" And whenever I think of the unmanageability, is like, yeah, I'm fucked.
Yeah, literally.
I'm fucked. I had that somewhere. I know it's around my office somewhere.
But it's the snowball. It's the ripple effect that it has on everything else, doesn't it? You know, your loved ones and the people that cares about you. It's just, yeah, it's just carnage, man. And having to deal with all that unmanageability when you come into sobriety as well, man. That can get, because I can still be manageable now with just sober. Like,
yeah,
and having to deal, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But having that, but having the steps and a good sponsor to kind of, this is one of it's one of our defects, isn't it? It's a major part of our defects, and having that sponsor, man, is who can relate to my unmanageability. It's been good, man, because if I was left alone on my own to myself in the 12 steps without a sponsor, without fellowship, without meetings, man, I'd be living like a dry drunk.
Yeah. So what was it in 2011 when he did the steps that brought you in to try something different that time? Because you were in your late 20s then. So what was going on to where? And you said you had a kid. Is that when you had a kid?
Yeah. It's funny, really. I had a different sponsor back then, but my sponsor now, I was in rehab with him. I was in rehab with him in 2011, and we both used in rehab. And I remember, like, we was in rehab slagging off the 12 steppers. And I didn't have a clue what the 12 steppers was, because I've just come into recovery, and we was just bouncing off each other. And we both left rehab at around about the same time. And now he's 10 years sober, and I'm a year sober. We both come up with roughly at the same time, and we both had the same sponsor back then. But our sponsor back then, he passed away. God bless him. He passed away, and I just went off and done my own thing, disengaged with the fellowship, and he carried on with it, bro. And he's sponsoring about 20 people. He's got a full-time job. He's got a beautiful missus, and he's like, he's only a small little red-headed guy, tiny little red-headed guy. And do you know what as well, right, bro? Right, like I'm the master of manipulation. I used to be able to manipulate anybody, right? But the only person that could never manipulate was my sponsor.
Yeah.
No, I used to get nervous calling my sponsor.
Yeah, he'll definitely call you on that shit.
It's brilliant.
And that's it's really a testament too, to show like how much he grew from the program, because the fact that he's doing such a thorough step 1 with you about unmanageability, or he did, when it's you guys learned from the same sponsor, you guys had the same sponsor, but that also tells me that he never stopped working a program, because if his sponsor eventually passed away, that means he got a new sponsor who then went through the steps with him and did the steps with different sponsors and learned different ways to do it, and learn, different ways to help different people that need different ways. So, that just goes to show the testament of how much he works the program right there.
Absolutely. His sponsor, my grand sponsor, is from America. And bro, he's brilliant, man. I've done a couple of workshops with him, and he decodes the book really well, bro. Like he brings the book to life, and I've got my sponsor and him as well. So it's kind of like I'm in safe hands if I need some questions being answered. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's you know, and you're definitely doing the right thing too, because if anyone that knows too, all you have to do is as long as you don't specify which fellowship, you're good. It like
Yeah.
tradition wise, and you know, because I've talked to a sponsor about even doing the show, and technically I have personally broken traditions a bunch of times, but it is what it is at this point for me because I have to basically talk to so many people and I can only do so much. And I'm not a perfect person, but at least for the guests, I always try to be respectful, you know what I mean, and all of
Yeah.
that. So because I know it's not the easiest thing. So you had some sober time in 2011. You went to rehab. Did you get out of there and start getting high right away? Or did you get some
It,
sober time?
I went to two rehabs. I went to a rehab in 2010, but we lasted 8 weeks for no fault of my own. The guy that run the rehab, who owned the big house, he kind of done it. He done a runner with all the money. So we had to shut the rehab down, and bro, that was an experience to say the least, man. It was like it was a big, massive mansion house in the middle of nowhere.
This episode is sponsored by MJ's Progress Not Perfection Meeting Center Association. We are in our meeting center where we do all these meetings for mental health and addiction. I can do this podcast anywhere. I can do this at home. I can do this in a closet. I can do this in a basement. It doesn't matter. All I need is somebody else to talk to about addiction and recovery. What I can't do from anywhere is help people with their addiction and their mental health problems. So if you can help out, we do have a Venmo, we have a Cash App, we have a PayPal, we have an address you can send a check to, and all the money that gets donated goes towards rent, goes towards keeping the lights on, and goes towards keeping the internet on. So please, if you can give $5, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Anything you can is so appreciated. And if you are a local business, if you're a national business, whatever, and you want to be a part of what we're doing, you can reach out to me and we can talk about how you can be a sponsor. But I'll let you get back to the episode.
And we had a tap on the door in the morning after support worker to say, look, we all got to leave because his insurance is not valid anymore. Because the guy that run the rehab, he's done a runner, he's nipped off the spin or whatever, he's gone. So like it was about 30 of us in that house, and it was just gone carnage, bro. The medicine cabinets are getting booted off, cars were getting nicked. It was carnage, man. But yeah, I left there and went back to Cardiff. I relapsed straight away. And it took me about 2 months, I think it was, to get into a new rehab, and which was in 2010, sorry, yeah, till 2011. The 9 months in the rehab.
And that's when you met. And that's when you met your sponsor.
That's when I met my sponsor. Yeah.
Okay. And now, but he has 10 years now. How long did you end up putting together before you had a relapse?
Not long, bro. Not long. I'd say about not long at all. It was because in rehab it was a CBT rehab, like the behavior therapy stuff.
Okay. Yep.
So it don't really teach you about the disease of addiction. Just trying to like controlling like your behavior ways and stuff like that, which is brilliant, man. It works for people, and so it didn't last long. So I'll come out, and I met a couple of friends who was doing the fellowship, and I got involved in the fellowship, and I was, because by this time now I've moved city. I moved away from like a 4-hour car journey away from home. So I was like in a new city on my own. I wanted some friends, and I got these friends, and which are still friends of mine to this day. So I was going to meetings and just doing the do, but without doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I had a back operation back then, and when I was in recovery from my back operation, there was a hair salon at the end of my street, so I used to hobble down on my crutches and get my hair cut by this girl, and I started seeing her, I started dating her, and then she got pregnant straight away, and she had the baby. I moved in with her, and by this time, bro, man, that was it. I thought I made it. I thought that was it. I'm sorted. I'm cured. Wasn't engaging with the fellowship, wasn't engaging with my old friends or the peers or nothing. I was just 100% involved in my family. That didn't last long. We went on holiday, on an all-inclusive holiday. My partner said, have a beer. You're going to be all right. And I had that beer. Game over, man. And, you know, it was.
Did your partner know about your history?
She does.
No, she does now, but did she know then?
She did. She knew I was in rehab, and she knew I got up to some like quite dangerous things, and you know she knew I was.
She knew what you wanted her to know that wouldn't scare her off.
Yeah, well, kind of like, you know, she knew. Yeah, she knew. You know, obviously, like when we're together, we're in bed and we're having the pillow talks, and I've been stabbed. I've been stabbed twice, and like she's seen the stab marks on my belly and my shoulder, and she's asked the questions, and I've told her.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't just. I always think the soccer hooligans. What was that movie? Green Street Hooligans. Yeah, because there's a lot. You know, the fights and the stabbing. You know what I mean? That's what I think of. But what were you getting the fights from? Is that just from being like, you know, rambunctious kid?
Yeah, it's just you know, because I was always you know, even though I had a good successful DJing career, you know, I always wanted to be like part of something. I've always wanted to be with that. You know, my ego always wanted to be like with the tougher crowd, and I wanted to try and be known as a bit of a boy or whatever. I wasn't, man. I'm a lovable role, you know. I give cuddles and stuff like that, you know. But I just wanted to be like this type of person, and it just comes with the territory, you know what I mean? You know, you're ripping off some drug dealers or whatever, and
they stab.
Get stabbed and get the debt written off.
Yeah, I mean, because getting stabbed in the stomach has got to be a scary one.
It wasn't like life threatening. It was I remember it was my sister's daughter's christening day, and I was going home. It was about 3:00 in the morning, and I was walking across the street and just off my face, you know, and just minding my own business. And I remember seeing a London cab taxi, which there was about 5 or 6 people in there, and they all just come running over. And I just like ran straight. I went to run straight away, and I remember pulling me back and just felt loads of whacks and punches. And you know, do you know like when you watch 2 kids in the playground fight, they're just windmilling and just like they just haven't got no control. That's what I was like, bro. I was just throwing my arms left, right, and center. Didn't know what was going on. I just run then, and I went and hid in an alleyway, and I hid in this alleyway for about 2 hours, and you know, it was pissing down with rain, and I walked then back home, and as I looked down, there was just blood everywhere. So they were slashing me up, I think it was. And I went to hospital. I had a lot of stitches on my side there, stitches on my arm. My thumb was like kind of hanging off.
Well, yeah. How old were you?
Oh, mate, I was, I think I must have been about 20, 23, 24.
Okay, so you were in your, okay. I was like, man, you were a kid? Like, I'm just glad you weren't a kid when this shit happened. Like,
oh no, I know, yeah.
Like it's rough. So now when you go into the back surgery, that was from an accident that you had last December, right?
Yeah.
Was the accident because you were drinking?
Yeah.
Okay, what happened?
It was it was the end of 2020. It was like, looking back on it now, it was like just the end of everything.
COVID was going on. I mean, there were lockdowns everywhere. Like,
it was, it was my using. I was 9 stone. I was.
I don't know what that means. Unfortunately, we go by pounds. So
pounds. Let me just do a translation now.
Oh yeah, I don't know what 9. Is that small?
Very, yeah, but I'm 19 stone now.
Holy shit. Okay. Okay. I mean, that gives me a good idea right there. 9 to 19.
126 pounds.
Holy shit, bro.
Yeah, I was thin, bro. I was thin. Like, you can see my rib cages, or my eyes are all sucked in, my jawline.
Yeah, I mean that's from the crack or the drinking or both.
Everything. Wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating. Just, I was probably eating like a pack of crisps every 2 days or whatever.
That's like the size I think of I don't know if you've seen The Fighter, Mark Wahlberg movie. The Fighter was a boxer.
Yeah.
Christian Bale.
His brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dicky.
Yeah.
Dicky was he smoked crack. But he got down to that size Christian Bale did to play that part.
I heard he actually smoked crack as well to get the feeling of.
I can believe it. I can 100% believe it, knowing that dude, because he's fucking crazy, man. To lose weight, to play like in Memento when he's like he has insomnia, and to do that, even to do that one especially, the fighter was right around when he was doing Batman, right? So he had he was Batman, and then he had to get down to the fighter, which was all he did was eat apples and drink black coffee, apparently. That was his diet, was coffee, black coffee though, and apples, because when you're eating apples, it mind fucks you because you think you're eating a lot when you're not, right? Because you're chewing for so long.
Right, okay. Yeah,
so mentally you ate a lot, but really you didn't. And coffee suppresses your appetite. So
that's right. Yeah.
So that was his diet to get down to like 120 some pounds for that movie. And then he had to put it back on again. Then he had to turn around and do another Batman. And then he gained too much weight. They're like, this is awkward, but you got to lose 30 pounds, bro. You got too big. And then so he had to lose coffee. Yeah. Like, come on.
It's funny you should mention that, right? Because a lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but a couple of people back in Cardiff, they used to call me Dicky. What was his name again?
It was I was gonna say Dicky Modassani, but it was Dicky Eklund, I think.
Yeah, Dicky Eklund, that's right. Yeah. But a couple of people, like they said, I remind them of them, because I used to box as well, and my younger brother started boxing, and I used to coach my younger brother.
That's exactly like Dicky.
Yeah, people used to say, but I used to get offended. I used to think, you cheeky bastards, I didn't like him. What are you on about?
Hey, he fought Sugar Ray, man.
I never.
I know. I'm saying he fought.
I fought my demons.
Yeah. So did he, though.
Yeah, badly. He's sober now, and he's still.
Yeah. Yep. I looked him up recently because he's one of those people that, like, especially now that I'm doing this show, that I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can get him on. You know what I mean? Like,
good.
I've definitely tried. I've emailed. That's for sure. I've sent an email. I've found an email address. Who knows if it's the right fucking one? But I definitely try with a lot of people. Like, I'll see what happens. Maybe they'll answer. I was talking to Daniel Baldwin for a little while about doing it, and because we have a mutual friend, but then all that shit with his brother happened, and he stopped answering. So he was probably worried that, and I even told him in an email, I'm like, don't worry, none of the questions have anything to do with your brother. Like,
yeah.
Because he did a documentary called something to PJ, My Promise to PJ. And I happen to be friends with, this kid PJ's sister. And PJ is somebody he went to rehab with and passed away, from a relapse and overdosed. So he did a documentary, his promise to PJ. And so, but yeah, I know, PJ through his sister that I went to AA with all the time when I was out in California a while ago. So it's just a small world. So he was answering me, and then all that shit happened, and then he was radio silence.
God. Bless you, man.
Yeah, it's like, it happens,
Yeah. Well, mate, listen, man, I do enjoy your platform, and I listen to quite a lot of about 4 or 5 of them, because I got you on Instagram. I was following that Scottish lady. Is it Finlay? Her name is
Amy.
And she moved to Scotland.
Yeah, Amy.
So I followed her, and your link came up, and I clicked on it, and I clicked on another one, and I went on another one, and I thought, this guy's good, man. I like this podcast.
Yeah, I had I met her through Mike. You've probably seen Mike, on her page. Inspired to Inspire. Yeah.
Inspired to Inspire. He's in rehab.
He is in it's kind of a rehab. It's like a sober living kind of thing. It looks like a rehab because it's New York City. Yeah. Okay. So everything looks like that. The way New York City.
He's doing good, though, isn't he?
Oh, he's doing awesome. Yeah, he was on my show a couple of months back, and he's coming on for a second appearance too. Actually, this week.
Nice.
So yeah, he'll pop up soon again. But he always has a lot of good things to say. So him and I always have fun talking. But that's how I met her, and that's how the recovery community is cool online, man. Because like,
yeah, fantastic, man.
I just discovered this like online recovery community in the last like 6-7 months, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until over the summer. Now, what do you post about your recovery online too?
I've come off like kind of like the only social media I'm on now is Instagram. I'm on TikTok because I just like TikTok because it's a laugh.
Yeah.
And yes, the main sites I really use is Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, but yeah, I do post. I post a lot because I'm a born again Christian as well, so I post a lot of faith stuff and.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, man, I do, and it's actually quite good because, and I've had a few people message me and I told them how I'm recovering and what they can do to get help and stuff like that. So it's just all positive vibe, man. It's better than posting up f this, f that, my life's rubbish, and what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and TikTok, I post there more than any of them too. There's a lot of promo vids on our TikTok page.
Oh, I have to follow you, man.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff there because I have fun with a lot of the promo vids. I'll take the videos and like it's hours of content in all these. So I'll go through and I'm gonna go through and do like a super cut of Xanax. I need to go through and because I know which guests I've talked about Xanax. So I just got to go through and find each time we all say Xanax and just do a super cut.
That's brilliant. I love that.
And then we'll have to end with all of us saying, but I don't remember anything because we all lost our memory because of Xanax too. So be like Xanax.
Blackouts.
Xanax don't remember. Xanax don't remember.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That could be the new remix, mate.
Yeah, there's been like 90 interviews, and I think like 50 of them are like that. It would be so much time.
I listened to a video on YouTube the other day. I just finished Sons of Anarchy, and they say Jesus Christ a hell of a lot. So they've done a video on YouTube, and the whole of the 3 minute of the YouTube was just everyone saying Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
so it kind of reminds.
Yeah, one of those supercuts. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's funny, man.
I feel like Ron Perlman says it probably the most. That when I think about it in my head, actually him and Gemma probably say it the most.
Gemma,
right?
Yeah.
I can hear Gemma saying it a lot in my head, like quickly, because I watched Sons so many times. Like I fucking
I did. I did it twice this year, mate. And do you know what, mate? It's kind of mad because I was speaking to my friend the other day and I did a Bible study with him. And we spoke about there's some sort of like message behind the Sons of Anarchy because at the end, when Jax Teller meets that homeless lady, there's like bread and wine. Do you see the bread and wine?
I know what you're talking about. So I know that it has to do with Hamlet. And I know that Kurt Sutter was really specific about how he wrote everything. Kurt Sutter is, the creator, writer, and director of all the big episodes. He is also married in real life to Katie Seagal. Yeah, and he also plays Otto.
That's right,
He plays Otto in jail that doesn't, fights his tongue off, which he did so he did that because he hated writing lines for himself. Did you know that? Yeah, he hated writing lines for himself. So he bite his own tongue, he can't fucking talk. So
brilliant.
Yeah, he's great. He spent a lot of time with bikers when he was writing. He's a Jersey boy like I am. He went to Rutgers up in North Jersey, and that's where he learned how to write and shit. And he worked on other cop shows. What was he on? The Shield, I think, back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And then Sons of Anarchy is where he like really took off finally. But yeah, obviously I've heard of the show. I kind of like it. But yeah, I know it has to resemble Hamlet. It might have something to do because he was a religious dude or he is a religious dude. Kurt Sutter is, and I know if he's writing something, and it's in there, it's for a reason. So if you're seeing, you might see the bread and wine, and I wouldn't, right? Because that's something that it's going to catch your eye, not mine. But you know that if it's in there, he did it for a reason. It's not an accident.
Because it's at the end as well where Jax Teller dies, isn't it? When he goes he drives into that big truck, and then the blood spills down onto a bit of bread.
See, I didn't even. It's been so long since I saw that ending, and it's fresh for you. But for me, I always think whenever I go back to rewatch it now, because it's one of those shows that I've watched so many times before, that when I go back to rewatch it, I go back to like favorites. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I'll watch like the finale to season 3.
I know it. Yeah.
It's a 3 with the bus and that agent, that blonde. That agent that they get. And,
that kills.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Opie kills, doesn't he?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it was 3 because that's in 4. Yep. Okay. I'm all caught up in my head again. All right. So now we're off on. Yeah. So Sons of Anarchy is a great fucking show, though.
Awesome, brother. Awesome.
I get so caught up on TV shows and so like into like the writing of them and why they wrote that and where that came from. The one.
Did you ever watch the Mayans?
Which one? The
Mayans.
Yeah. Yep. I watched the first season.
Yeah. It's because have you seen at the beginning part as well where they got the crow in the middle of the road, and at the start of the show he runs over the crow.
That's because they're taking over. Yeah, exactly. They're running.
Yeah.
Because the crow is in the very beginning of the Sons too.
That's right. Yeah.
The crow comes down on the street, before they come up to, you know what I mean? As he's pulling into that gas station, convenience store, that's how the first one starts, as Jax is going into convenience store. Yes. And then he hears the explosion far away, which is their safe house exploding.
Safe house with all the guns and stuff.
Yeah. So.
Awesome show.
Man, I haven't watched that in so long. I gotta fucking watch it again. It's so funny. I can still recall it. And I watch that shit in addiction. It goes to show you how many. I haven't even watched
whole season.
I haven't even watched that show sober, and I can still recall all that shit. That's how much I watch it. It's like
shit.
Yeah, it is.
Bro, I didn't have time to watch TV when I was under the influence. I was just too busy. I was erratic, man. I was like. I'd have like half an ounce of cocaine, and I'd be panicking. Like that's not gonna last me.
See, when I did coke, I wanted to watch TV or movies where they did coke with me. I would still do coke alone, but I would want to watch somebody else do coke alone too. What was that show that I watched? I watched a show that it takes place like in the 70s. And the guy works at like it's called Vinyl. And he works, and it was on HBO, and the guy works for like this record company, which is why it's called Vinyl. And the same guy that created Boardwalk Empire created this show, which just didn't take off kind of thing. But it was really good. But I just remember the guy was also a raging cokehead. So, and I did so much coke that week that I watched that show because I wanted to do all the blow with him. So, like, I would put it on and just binge watch a show and just do all this coke and then forget to watch it and have to watch it again. And I must have watched the show like 4 times that week, just doing a bunch of, like, oh my God.
Yeah,
the fucking mess, dude. That's that madness.
Yes, it is. I used to enjoy getting a load of coke and playing Call of Duty online. But bruv, honestly, like I don't know why I did it, because he used to sketch the shit out of me. I used to be playing, like I'd be like properly wired up, engaged, then I get shot, and then I'd shit myself. I'd throw my control, because that paranoia was just, mate, it was like weird.
Yeah, you're scaring the shit out of yourself. But man,
that's the bad stuff we do.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're doing it different now, though, and you definitely are, because I can tell that 9 to 19, that's a huge, difference. Obviously, you were not being healthy before. So that just goes to show you how much of a program that you're working to and how much you're dedicated to what you're doing, man. Like,
man, I got it, bro, because, I've got another relapse in me, but I haven't got another recovery, bro. Like, yeah. And I really haven't, man. And the last 12 months, man, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's all been beautiful and pink and fluffy. I mean, it's been hard, man. 25
it's not supposed
years
to be.
No,
yeah,
absolutely,
it's
man.
not supposed to be all pink and fluffy, though, dude.
No, exactly. It's like, I spoke to somebody the other week and it made me laugh, man. Like you hear about these guys who yeah, man, sobriety's brilliant, man. The 12 steps are brilliant. I've got my kids back in my life. I'm back. My wife has got me back in the house. And next week I'm collecting my 30-day chip. I'm just like, bro, I'm collecting my 1-year chip and I can just barely speak to my baby mother. Well, yeah, so it is, man. But I'm just blessed with God. It's funny, isn't it? You got like 2 alcoholics who's dead in the ground, buried 6 feet under from 1935, like saving millions of people around the world.
Yep.
It's mind blowing.
Still, man, still using the words.
Yeah.
Yep, it's awesome. It's a great thing to see too. Like, especially, whenever when newcomer walks in when they're carrying a book, and you're like, oh, okay, they get it. You know what I mean? That happened the other day for me, where a new guy was showing up, and he was like, hey, I just got back from being away for 30 days, and I had a sponsor there, and he told me to get one here, and this is where we're at, and he had a book in his hand. I'm like, all right, you're ready to go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I mean,
you know?
Do you know what? It's funny, right? Because when people talk about spiritual experiences and spiritual awakenings and stuff, I get like a spiritual feeling, like seeing a newcomer with a big book and seeing a newcomer's eyes lit and seeing them put their hands up for the first time to share back and it's just, bro, that to me, man, I love that. That's amazing, because it is, for what it is daunting, like coming into a place of like, wow, this shit is real.
Yep. Yeah, I see it all the time when I do the show, mostly now, because now I live in the middle of nowhere, man. My meetings are few and far between for people that show up. Now, the fun part for me in recovery is talking to somebody that has never told their story before. And I know going in, they've never told their story. And I'm giving them an opportunity to like really dive in and start fresh from the beginning, and tell it. And, I can see therapeutically, I can watch them open up as we're talking and get more comfortable. Like, some have even said, like, oh my God, I think I blacked out at one point. Like, and I just like word vomited, like, and because they end up getting comfortable and they're like, okay, now I can, here it is, and I'm going to share it. For me, that's what I like to see, because I know how hard it is, but I know how therapeutic it is too.
Absolutely,
to just say, this is who I am or where I've been and what I've been through, and put it out there, because for years people talk about us. When we're in addiction, like you said, you were Dicky, man. People talk about us and they don't know shit. They just assume what they think, and then they just say whatever they want. And since we're the drug addict, they get that power. We don't have that power of no, you don't. Fuck you, you're a drug addict. We don't have that power, man. And we get that power back. But really, we get confidence back, and we take ownership of our story, and we tell our story, and we say, no, that's who I was, but it made me who I am. And that kind of, doing that kind of thing, getting that kind of confidence is a huge thing in anyone's recovery. So, like, whether 10 people watch this, one person, or 1,000 people watch this episode or listen to it, it's the point that you get something out of it.
Absolutely,
and I get something out of it too, because I got to facilitate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Connect that. I get to do that. So for me, it keeps me sober.
And I heard you say it on Abby's podcast. I think it was Abby's, but you mentioned that no one turned up to the meeting, and then you had that podcast with Abby, and you said that this is my meeting right now. It only takes 2 of us to have a meeting.
Yeah.
And I was watching. I thought, yeah, go on, bro. Yeah. most people that they go to a meeting, no one turns up. They be like, oh, what the hell? Yeah. And they won't think about phoning another alcoholic or anything.
No, yeah, that happened. It's snowing here, man. It's it's snowing where I live, and so no one was here today. So I'll do this one, and then that guy Mike, actually, from Inspire to Inspire.
Oh,
he just texted me, and then we're going to be doing one together in about 5 hours. So we're going to be hopping on and do. So that'll be my nighttime meeting. This is like my morning meeting, And for me, that's my, that's how I stay sober. It's I get something out of it.
Yeah, bro. And I'm a massive believer of it as well. One alcoholic to another alcoholic making, like I say this all the time, bro. And you know what we're like, man. We're like egotistic maniacs, and we like can you imagine, like in the meeting that I go to now, bro? Like it's only about 10 people every week, which is nice. Like I said, if you put these 10 people in a company to try and run a business, it would fail. It would fall. Like within a week, you've got like 10 egotistic people trying to run a business. It's going to collapse.
Yeah, I mean, look at both of us. Both of us as alcoholics and addicts, we were on a fucking stage. You were a DJ and I was a comedian. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Yeah, talk about egos, man. Talk about having egos. We're the ones that are like, no, listen to us. I'm going to tell you what you're listening to, either jokes or your fucking music. You know what I mean? Like either way, you're like, listen to us. So yeah, I get it. I get the ego thing, bro. I really do. Like I watch back my episodes. I say to my wife, like, I fucking talk too much. Like she's like, no, you're supposed to talk. You have to talk too. I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, no, it's fine. Because like now I get in my head. In addiction, I never got in my head, but now it's like, oh, am I talking too much? And she's like, no, shut the fuck up, like.
No, man, I think it's brilliant, man. I love it. But I was saying, man, but it was like with the 10 people trying to run a business, it collapsed. But then you got like 10 people running a meeting and it's running successfully, and it was run on Tradition 7, and that's so powerful, mate. Like it's unbelievably good. You know what I mean? It's so like comforting. And
it's funny because that's